Imagine if you could see the future so terrifying, so dark, that it sends chills down your spine. Hundreds of years ago, Noah claimed he could do just that. He didn't just predict everyday events. He spoke of devastating wars, powerful leaders who would wreak havoc on the world, and ultimately the end of everything we know. Many of his predictions have already come true. Among his most frightening prophecies are those about three powerful figures he called the Antichrists. Two of these figures have already walked the earth, leaving destruction in their wake. But the third, the most dangerous of all, has yet to appear. And when he does, Nostradamus warned, he will bring about the end of the world as we know it. Nostradamus predicted the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, a man who conquered Europe and caused unimaginable suffering. He then spoke of Adolf Hitler, who unleashed horrors on a scale the world had never seen. Both figures fit Nostradamus' descriptions of the first and second Antichrists almost perfectly. Nostradamus called him by a name we don't fully understand: Marbus. Some say this name has already appeared in history, while others believe this sinister figure is still out there, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Nostradamus' prophecies connect with what the Bible tells us about the end times. The Bible speaks of a final leader, the beast, 6666, the ultimate symbol of evil. Both sources predict a horrifying figure whose rise will mark the beginning of the end. Nostradamus' prophecies described a conqueror who would rule much of Europe and spread terror. In the early 19th century, this figure emerged as Napoleon Bonaparte. Born in 1769, Napoleon rose to power during the French Revolution, a time of chaos and instability. In 1804, he declared himself Emperor of France and soon launched a series of wars that devastated Europe. His ambition knew no bounds. Nostradamus' writings coincide eerily with this historical period. He described the first Antichrist as a powerful leader of France who would bring destruction throughout Europe. The Napoleonic Wars, which lasted from 1803 to 1815, are now known as the Napoleonic Wars and led to the deaths of millions. His reign of terror, driven by his desire to dominate Europe, was eerily in line with what Nostradamus had predicted hundreds of years earlier. The conqueror's downfall occurred following his disastrous invasion of Russia in 1812 and his eventual defeat at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. The Angel of the Abyss, also known as Abaddon in Hebrew and Apollyon in Greek, appears in the Book of Revelation. Scholars have pointed out that Apollyon shares a linguistic root with Napoleon, drawing a direct line between the French emperor and the destructive force foretold in the Bible. Fast forward more than a century, and another man emerges from Europe, one who would wreak unimaginable horrors. This time it is Adolf Hitler, the dictator of Nazi Germany. Hitler came to power in 1933, and by the outbreak of World War II in 1939, he had already begun to enact his plans to expand Germany's territory and annihilate entire populations, particularly the Jewish people. Nostradamus had prophesied a second Antichrist from the north, describing a figure whose cruelty would surpass that of the first. Hitler fits this prophecy almost perfectly. He was born in Austria in 1889, but as the leader of Nazi Germany, he was effectively a ruler of the north. His obsession with creating a pure Aryan race led to the Holocaust, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews, along with millions of others. This act of genocide cemented Hitler's place as one of the most feared figures in human history. He even predicted the rise of someone with a name eerily similar to Hitler. In one of his verses, he references Hister, which some believe is either a spelling mistake or a cryptic reference to Hitler. Whether intentional or coincidental, it's hard to ignore how closely Nostradamus' second Antichrist aligns with Hitler's reign of terror. Meanwhile, the Bible also warns of a northern leader who would destroy many, and it's hard to miss the parallels. The book of Daniel speaks of a tyrant who would wreak havoc on the world, taking captives and murdering innocent lives. Hitler's actions during World War II fit this prophecy to an unsettling degree, especially with the mass extermination of the Jewish people, a key detail mentioned in the biblical text. By the time World War II ended in 1945, Hitler had left the world in ruins. But the worst, according to Nostradamus, was yet to come. There remains one more Antichrist, a final figure whose arrival will mark the beginning of the end. The Bible also speaks of a beast, a terrifying leader who will deceive the nations and bring about the end of times. By 666, the abomination of desolation, prophecy predicts the end of all. To understand the idea of historical recurrence, it's important to see how the first two antichrists followed similar paths to dominance and destruction. Napoleon Bonaparte and Adolf Hitler both came to power during times of extreme instability, capitalizing on social, economic, and political chaos. In the late 1700s, France was in the midst of a revolution, and Napoleon emerged as a strong military leader who promised to bring order. In the early 1800s, he crowned himself emperor, spreading war across Europe. His military campaigns, known as the Napoleonic Wars, caused millions of deaths and reshaped the political landscape of the continent. Similarly, Adolf Hitler came to power during one of Germany's darkest periods. The aftermath of World War I and the global economic depression had left the country in turmoil. Hitler seized this opportunity, using his charismatic leadership and extreme nationalist views to gain control. In 1939, he launched World War II, a conflict that would result in the deaths of tens of millions, including the horrific genocide known as the Holocaust. The Bible also speaks to recurring themes of destruction and salvation, especially in the context of prophecy. The book of Revelation, for example, warns of cycles of judgment, war, and suffering, leading up to the final confrontation between good and evil. Some suggest that Mabus may be a modern-day leader whose actions will lead to global conflict, while others believe the name represents a figure who has yet to arise. The Bible also suggests that this final figure will bring an unprecedented level of destruction. Known as the Beast, this leader will deceive the nations and cause widespread chaos before bringing final judgment. When Nostradamus described the third Antichrist, he didn't give us all the answers. Instead, he left clues, like the name Mabus, that have puzzled scholars and readers for centuries. Some think it refers to a specific person who once lived or is currently alive. Others believe the name is symbolic, representing a leader who will emerge in the future. But the truth is, no one knows for sure. As we look at the world around us, it's easy to see why the fear of the unknown feels so real. We live in a time of uncertainty, with global conflicts, political instability, and rapid changes in technology reshaping societies. These elements create an environment that seems ripe for the kind of catastrophe that Noah and the Bible foretold. In the 21st century, the world faces new threats that are difficult to fully understand or control. Cyber warfare, the rise of artificial intelligence, and unstable international relations create a sense that we are treading on the brink of something huge. We do not know what the next great crisis will be. And this is exactly the kind of uncertainty that fuels fear of the third Antichrist. The book of Revelation introduces us not only to the Antichrist, but also to the beast and the false prophet, individuals who will mislead humanity during the end times. People often identify the beast as a political or military leader who will bring chaos to the world, but the false prophet poses an equally dangerous role. He will deceive people into following the beast, performing false miracles and signs to deceive even the most faithful. Another powerful theme in the Bible is the mark of the beast, a concept that appears in Revelation 13:16-18. People will be required to receive a mark on their right hand or forehead in order to buy or sell during the Antichrist's time. This mark, symbolizing ultimate allegiance to the beast, has long fascinated theologians and conspiracy theorists. But more than a literal symbol, it represents something deeper. The loss of personal freedom and the rise of a totalitarian regime that controls every aspect of life. In today's world of increasing surveillance, digital tracking, and the erosion of privacy, the idea of a mark can take on new forms. The Bible's warning about the mark of the beast could not only refer to a physical mark, but also serve as a metaphor for how powerful forces will control and manipulate societies. This theme speaks to fears many have today, how easily we could be forced into systems that seem beneficial or necessary, but are ultimately about control. The loss of autonomy, the surrender of individual rights in exchange for security, is a theme that resonates deeply in modern times and fuels anxiety about the unknown. The Bible often points to Israel as a focal point in end-time events. According to prophecy in Ezekiel and the book of Daniel, the final Antichrist will lead a coalition of nations against Israel, marking the beginning of the Great Tribulation. This war is not just about physical conflict. It represents a larger spiritual battle between the forces of good and evil. Many biblical scholars believe that tensions in the Middle East will closely tie the rise of the Antichrist, with the defense of Israel being central to how these events unfold. Nostradamus also hinted at this in his prophecies, suggesting that the third Antichrist would lead an attack on Israel, triggering the final apocalyptic battle. With current conflicts and geopolitical instability in the region, this theme becomes even more relevant. Hope in the midst of chaos. While much of the discussion about the Antichrist focuses on destruction, the Bible offers a counter-theme of hope and redemption. After the reign of the Antichrist and the devastation he brings, the Bible foretells the return of Jesus Christ, who will defeat the forces of evil and establish a new kingdom of peace. This promise of salvation is a critical theme in both the Old and New Testaments, providing a sense of hope for those who believe in the prophecies. This theme of redemption stands in stark contrast to the fear of the Antichrist, reminding us that while the end times are prophesied to be dark and terrifying, they are also the prelude to a new beginning. People view the return of the Messiah as the ultimate victory over evil and the reinstatement of justice and peace in the world. For those trying to understand these prophecies today, this theme offers a powerful reminder that no matter how bleak the future may seem, there is still hope for renewal and salvation. This belief can serve as a source of strength in times of fear and uncertainty. The Antichrists have already arisen, leaving behind devastation in ways that eerily match the ancient prophecies. And now we face the uncertainty of the third, the most destructive of all. If you're finding value in our deep dives into the mysterious and unknown, please consider supporting the channel by clicking the super thank you button below. Your contribution is helping us continue creating content that sparks curiosity, uncovers hidden truths, and keeps you informed about the world's most fascinating topics. The world today makes it hard to dismiss the possibility that these ancient predictions were more than stories. We live in an age of profound uncertainty, where political chaos, economic instability, and global conflict dominate the headlines. Wars, natural disasters, and technological advances appear to blur the boundaries between reality and prophecy. The prophecies may seem like relics of the past, but their relevance grows stronger in the face of today's challenges. Nostradamus and the Bible spoke of a world dominated by fear, deceit, and violence. And while many of us may hope that these predictions will never come true, the tension of not knowing remains in the back of our minds. The themes they explore are timeless. The fear of powerful figures emerging in times of crisis is as real today as it was hundreds of years ago. The dangers of deception, the loss of freedom, and the prospect of global conflict are constant undercurrents in our world. The third Antichrist may still be a mystery, but the world around us is full of signs that echo the prophecies we've discussed. History has a way of repeating itself, and the patterns we've seen before may well be repeating themselves again. Thank you for watching. Come be part of our community by subscribing to our channel until the next video.